My name is Geordie Lemmon. Most people know me as Geordie. I've lived in the Philadelphia area most of my life. However, most of my business activity is centered in the Midwest. While my business card says that I'm the president and CEO of the Brynavon Group, really I like to think of myself as really a business owner. My first job is probably my only job, with several different twists and turns. In 1983, I graduated from Harvard, and most of my peers went to Wall Street to work in investment banks. I decided to work for my father, and immediately I was sent down to Longview, Texas, to work on the manufacturing floor of an HVAC coil manufacturer. My boss was a 19-year-old Texas woman, and after 2 or 3 days on the job, she looked at me and she said, "Your dad owns this company. Why are you working for me?" And at the time, I really didn't have a good response to it. But in hindsight, I was there to learn. And so I think my father wanted to guarantee the American dream for me by starting me on the bottom of the ladder. Ironically, the greatest mentor of my life in business career, we acquired his company. And in 1995, when I was running a public company, we bought a small manufacturing company in Great Bend, Kansas. And it was run by a gentleman named Max Bennett. And Max was a very seasoned operator. Max had run large divisions internationally for other private companies, and he decided to retire to Great Bend, Kansas in this small company. And when we bought the company, I had no idea what kind of influence he was going to have on me. But over time, I got to understand Max's operating philosophies. It was pretty simple. Every manager only has 4 questions to ask every day. Do I have the right people? Have I pointed them in the right direction? Have I given them the right resources to do their job? And have I created the right environment for them to succeed? And every day, that's what I ask myself. And it always begins and it always ends with people. And when you work in a small business, it's all about people. Because if you have a good one, it changes the dynamics. And when you have a bad one, it can sink the ship. I really measure success one person at a time. Throughout my life, I've been very fortunate, and I feel it's my responsibility to pass that along to as many people as possible. We all want to save the world. We all want to influence as many people as possible. But every day I have to sort of slow down and say, listen, if I change the life of one person every day for the better, then I've left this world a better place. When it comes to business, I've incorporated that philosophy into sort of our focus on management buyouts. In small businesses, managers create an unbelievable amount of wealth, and most of that wealth is taken by the owners. So by focusing on managers and buying the businesses that they work for, I give them the opportunity to share in that value they create. And for me, there's no greater experience than to watch a manager who's been working for a paycheck all his life or her life cash in their ownership position and become a millionaire. To me, that's how I really define success. My greatest challenge in the current position is overcoming stereotypes. I've been very fortunate to attend some of the best education institutions in the country. An MBA at Villanova, undergrad degree at Harvard College, high school at Phillips Exeter in New Hampshire. But reality, those degrees mean nothing in sort of my business work. So my greatest challenge is to overcome the stereotypes that are projected on me, because we're all human. You know, we always judge people from their backgrounds. Recently, I was in a meeting with a potential seller, and we were having an operational discussion, and after the discussion, he looked around the table and he said, "Boy, that was more enjoyable than having a discussion with a consultant from Harvard." Now, some of the people on the table understood where my background was, and they were all quiet. They didn't understand how I would react. But for me, that was success, because I had clearly communicated who I was about, not necessarily the stereotype that everybody anticipated. Today, there are a lot of different organizations buying businesses. There are individuals who've made a lot of wealth and they want to reinvest in a small business. There are clearly a lot of private equity groups that raise capital to invest. And then there's a traditional strategic corporate buyer. Now, my father started buying businesses in 1973. I joined him in 1983. So over about 40 years, we've invested in 40 different businesses, from startup companies to maybe the largest was a manufacturer of trailers at 40 million. We've also acquired businesses in different formats as standalone partnerships and even as a public company. But today, what we're really focused on and the niche that we serve is defined a couple different ways. Primarily, we're looking for businesses that are too large for individuals to acquire and too small for private equity to fool with. So from definition, that's probably about $1 million to $2 million in cash flow, or EBITDA. Secondarily, we're looking for business transitions that have the dynamics between the management team and the current ownership. Most management teams that want to buy the businesses that they work for, they don't have the capital to do it, nor do they know how to do a deal. So that's where we fit in. We lend them enough capital to buy 20% of the business. If they have other sources of capital, they can buy an additional 20%, so they can own somewhere between 20 and 40% of the transaction. Then we own the balance. And at the closing table, we'll offer them an option to acquire our ownership a couple of years down the road. So it's a clear path to 100% ownership. And that works very well in sort of family transitions sometimes, when there's just children inside the business and children outside the business, and you have to be fair to both sides. And lastly, we're defined as a private investment company. We're privately held. The money typically comes from family. So I buy 20 to 25% of each transaction. We have a trust that acquires some, and then we also have other family members. We're also very long-term investors. If you look at our portfolio, our average investment is probably 11 plus years. Our mission is to grow the existing company with the existing management team. And at the end of the day, we try to keep it simple. We try to make the pieces of the puzzle fit. And if they don't fit, that's okay. We walk away as friends.